Well, everybody's ready for some football, and it is August the 7th. I got a question for former Wolverine Jim Scarcelli right out of the gate. Scar, would you rather get into the minutia of the NCAA infractions committee or sit in a dentist chair all morning? You know, which two are more fun?
Let me tell you, Danny, this is the second I got to get a post. I had a post that was put in, so it's not a fun deal. They shoot that my gum is still a little numb. So if I'm slobbering on myself, they drill in there. They're gonna put anyway. So I had to find a new guy. The guy that did my other one a couple years ago was great. He retired, so I found a new guy. And Danny, let me tell you, when you're looking up resumes of a dentist, doctor, and you see Michigan, the guy went to Michigan.
You like it? Yeah.
Oh, he teaches at not only he teaches at Michigan's dental school, and he does some stuff. The guy was brilliant. He could have did what he did to me in his sleep. So I'm just happy with it, and I'm not a fun deal. But Denny, we're rolling, man. A lot of stuff going on with Michigan.
Yeah, we're gonna get to it, Scar. You know, if I could, it reminds me. It's been about 5 years. I've switched dentists in the meantime, but about 5 years ago, you know, you just go in for a cleaning, right? You know, they do. And I had this lady, and she was so hard on my teeth, and it hurt so bad. I even had to say to myself, I'm like, you know, you got to toughen up a little bit. Like, you know, but I think I had tears coming down my eyes, and I went through the whole, and I have to admit afterwards, she did really a good job. But I mean, she was just in there, just like cranking on my teeth. And then I went through it a second time, and I said, it's too much. I need it to be more gentle. And my wife said, well, you're just going to have to say something. And I said something, you know, at the dentist, and they all kind of nodded like, oh yeah, you know, you're not the only one. I felt bad, you know, saying it. And I saw the lady a few times when I was in there, you know, everybody's like, hey, how you doing? Come on in. She would see me. And I think she probably knew that I was like, didn't want her cleaning my teeth, but that was just cleaning my teeth. I couldn't imagine if she was like, you know, doing something else where it was drilling in. But yeah, you know, you gotta be tough to sit in that dentist chair. It's
you know, the moral of the story is when you're looking for a dentist, you're looking for a doctor, and you're looking at the resume. If you see Michigan, that's your guy. There you go.
You know, I never thought about that, but you're right. Michigan School of Dentistry. They're very good. They're doing well. Well, you know, they're doing a good job. Scar, the breaking news comes from the NCAA and the Committee on Infractions. They showed Jim Harbaugh a 4-year show cause for what people like to refer to as the Burgergate saga, from that Harbaugh was suspended for 3 games from the beginning of last year. So we have to give our thoughts on that. So I think we're putting all the Michigan fans in the dentist chair right off the bat and saying, hey, we're drilling, but hey, it's going to be a little bit fun after this. But go ahead and give your thoughts.
Jim Harbaugh is the NCAA. He is like public enemy number one. They are paying players. Who was the biggest advocate to pay players? Jim Harbaugh. You think the NCAA doesn't want to get back at Jim? So I think that's a part of it. A big part of why they got such a big agenda against him. They don't want him, you know, they don't want him to coach. You got to sit a whole year. But, you know, they want to try to destroy his legacy. Look, there's a lot of people going to define a man's legacy. You know, 3 Michigan people, 3 championships in a row, national championship to finish it off. Players getting paid 20, 30, 40 years ago. From now, hopefully the players will look back and say, you know, that was the biggest advocate, you know, or some people are going to say, you know, Connor Stallions and this Burgergate, that's your legacy. You can't control some of this stuff. Okay. But, you know, Danny, it's a difficult thing. I just think it's so extreme for some of those violations. It's crazy, man. You know, some of it is, Clinksdale and helping a kid get on Instagram and some of these just nickel dime stuff. When you think about what some of these other guys were doing, there's just got to be an agenda to get after Jim.
Some of it seems like that when you see these benign, like you're talking about with Clink, or how they went after Harbaugh's emails and wanted the turnaround in such a quick time that didn't seem like a governing body that is trying to be fair and equitable. And you read about, I don't have all the names of the 20 some odd people that are on the committee of infractions for the NCAA, but recently I was just looking, to see if I could find some of the names, and the folks that did put their names out there, they weren't. I thought maybe they'd all be attacked. You could say, "Oh, that guy." They were all saying things like, they want to be part of the solution, and it's a thankless job, and they do want to be fair, and all of these things. But then the leaking of a draft of notice of an allegations, none of that is above board. It comes off as, like you're saying, a vendetta. I just want to go back. You can say whatever you want and everything. It would be different for me for two things. If Jim Harbaugh was still here and they were trying to suspend him for multiple games or multiple seasons, and that would be, of course, this would be huge news, but he's not. It's a huge difference that he's not here and that he is, and so you still wanted him here, but now he's not. I do think it can go to the part where people said, Ward pushed him out the door or whatever else. I don't know. I never thought that myself, but maybe if you're somebody who's dug in and thought, this is all Ward's fault, maybe you could still feel that. I find that people that do feel that use almost anything to say, yep, this was obvious. No, this is exactly what happened. It's all Ward's fault. It doesn't seem like it. He would have been, it would be different if he was still here. And it would also be different to me if Michigan hadn't won the national championship. I'd feel different about that situation with Harbaugh. I do wonder, I could say, yeah, he should have done it differently when it came down to the situation that people like to refer as Burgergate and all the things that they said he was dishonest and misled him and all these things. Could he have handled himself better where it didn't elevate Michigan's status from some level 2s to a level 1? I would say yes, for sure. But, that's my opinion, that he could have handled it differently. But since he's not here and since Michigan won the national championship, I feel differently about, the whole thing. It's kind of like, okay, it doesn't really matter. Now, it doesn't tarnish his legacy. I mean, you could try to say that as a rival or something, but to me, it doesn't. How he went about things. And you're right. Normally I don't like saying, oh, yeah, but what about the SEC? Yeah, well, what about? This is a dirty, nasty, rotten sport. It's great, too. We all love it, Scar, and you could talk about so many good things that the NCAA and college football does, but then, there's the underbelly side of it. And, you've got to do some of those things. So it doesn't affect his legacy to me at all.
Yeah. And Danny, like I said, you mentioned the name Jim Harbaugh 5 years, 10 years, 15, 20 years from now. You mentioned that name in Columbus. They're going to have a different opinion about his legacy. You mentioned that name in East Lansing. They're going to have a different opinion about his legacy. Right. So listen, man, Jim doesn't care. You heard Jim's statement. He's moving on. He's attacking the next day with an enthusiasm unknown to mankind. So it appears the NCAA is saying, you know what, let's just hammer this guy that's out the door, the guy that pounded the table for paying players, the guy that they believe disrespected them, and let's hammer him as he's out the door, and let's hopefully not hammer Michigan, Ward, Sharon Moore, and this current Michigan football team. That it's something that isn't going to affect them.
Yeah, I think that this would be my last thing that I'll say about it. You can say something if you want at the end. That the infractions committee, when you hear what they have to say, it's what a lot of people, if you took the Michigan stuff out of it, they've always said about the infractions committee. It's like, you guys wait way too long to make rulings, and the people that were involved are usually all gone. A lot of times fired. In this case, is off to the NFL, but it's all, it doesn't, you're affecting the future of these kids. And you need to do it in a more timely fashion. And whatever they do with the next governing body that comes in and sets the rules, and they get it, this part, you can't have things like the sign stealing stuff that's going on. This is going to play out all season long. And with the NCAA, leaking out a draft that is negative towards Michigan, it puts Michigan in a bad light. It puts them on a de facto probation where everybody's out there saying, yeah, Michigan, look at this. Harbaugh got hit with a 4-year ban. What do you think they're going to do with Stallions and everything else? You better decommit. Every one of these recruits in 25.
Well, you make a great point. Is everything our football team went through last year with the media and the NCAA and the narrative and the things that surrounded the disruption of that football team, that's a huge penalty. Is it showing up anywhere? You know what I mean? It's like, that's huge. The things that we put our football team through and we're still able to overcome it. It's like, yeah, they don't even put a price on that. Like, it's irrelevant. And like, this stuff now is irrelevant. I mean, listen, Sharon will do the same thing as Jim. They're going to get in that they're in that submarine now and they're going to block it out. But, it's done on purpose. You're absolutely right, Marty. That's right. They want to try to do things that indirectly can hurt Michigan with recruiting, and all this stuff could have an effect.
Yeah, and that's why right here, right now, talking about it, when they do when the NCAA is swept aside and they bring in the new governing body, this is one of the parts that they're going to have to deal with. Getting to something in a timely fashion. I know there's a lot of people that work in the court systems and say, yeah, good luck, with swift and, timely justice and all of that. The wheels, what's the phrase, Scar? The wheels of justice move slow or whatever. So, yeah, but, when you're affecting a team, when, it's hurting them now and it can hurt them for a long time. So even if you're getting into, people want, Michigan get into, file a lawsuit. You want Michigan legislators to get involved. Tennessee did that. The process doesn't look like a nice, fair and equitable process. Yeah. Now, if I put myself in the NCAA shoes, you can say, yeah, well, we're getting stonewalled at every turn. What the hell can we do? Well, I don't know. How about not, releasing stuff and it's a weird way to operate as a government.
Yeah, it's like those are additional punishments that don't show up anywhere. We just got from shady leaks and all that stuff we should counter it, but
yeah. So there we are. Let's move out of that. That's it.
Okay, good.
We'll move on. The season is on the horizon. The coaches poll comes out and has Michigan in the top 10 at number 8. What are your thoughts there?
It's a good number. It's not that big a thing. It's where it's okay. I've been on teams that were the number 1 ranked team in the country. We lost the opener my freshman year. And then my last year, we weren't even ranked. We weren't even in the top 25, finished number 2 in the country. So that, my thoughts on that. You got to win. And we have the talent, the coaches, the foundation to win every freaking game. Again, Danny, I'm going to tell you, I believe it. We got a defense coming back. A top 11, as good as anybody in the country. We're going to find out about our backup 2011, and I have a lot of faith in it. But I think it's okay. We're going to take care of Fresno, and we get Texas at home. Denny, the Washington game on the road is going to be a tough football game. It could be every bit as tough as Texas at home. I'm telling you that right now.
I know.
Here's the question, Scar. Who playing the beat at QB? I don't know. I haven't been to practice or anything. I don't know what's going on. I don't know how they're looking now in preseason. Haven't seen anything. But we're going to find out against Fresno, man. I'm going to try to But yeah, I'm just confident, Denny. As far as number 8, it is what it is. It's fine. We're not gonna prepare any harder. We're not gonna. It's irrelevant to how we prepare. I believe that.
Well, if the players could feel slighted that they were number 8, well, they can go out and prove it against Texas, because if they beat Texas, then they'll be moving on up like the Jeffersons pretty quickly. And I would remind people that back, Michigan was preseason. What were they, number 2 last year? Obviously, they won it all. That was a pretty good ranking. But in 21, heading into the season, they weren't even in the top 25, and they made it to the college football playoff. That was the first time a team had done that. And back in 97, Michigan wasn't ranked in the top 10. They were ranked at number 14, and they went on to win it all. So, I mean, it's just, some people don't like they always say, well, they shouldn't rank them until November. Heck, people rank the teams as soon as the college season's done. They have a way too early top 25, the summer top 25. And, it's nice to have a top 25, because then you at least get, if you can fire you up a little bit when you see 2 top 25 teams playing. So it's done as a guide. It's fun. Don't worry about it. And for Michigan, they're in a fine spot.
Yeah. I remember, going into my 5th year, we weren't even ranked. Yeah, it kind of pisses you off. We're Michigan. We're not even ranked. But Denny, we've got, we're playing 3 of the top 4 ranked teams, Ohio State, Texas, and Oregon.
Good point.
I really like when I really think about it, I like our schedule. I like our schedule because we get Fresno, we get our quarterback situation worked out. We get a game to get it figured out. We get some young offensive linemen who are highly, highly talented, been sitting there for a while. We're going to be, and then we get Texas, at home, game 2. It's just a big difference, game 1 to game 2 for a football player playing in front of 110. Okay, big difference. The nerves will be settled down. They'll know how to prepare to be a starter, to be a backup. We'll get our rotations down, and I really like our schedule, man. Texas at home after a game, a trial run.
I hear what you have to say about Washington. The reason I think it won't be maybe as tough as you think is that they lose 21 out of 22 starters. That's not a real.
You don't think they got good players over there, Denny? You think that's Washington, man?
I think
they're like Michigan. They got players backed up.
Team. I think any team. I think Alabama. I think Georgia. If they lost 20, Michigan. If they lost 21 of 22, I don't think they should be. They probably wouldn't even be in the top 25. And I think that it would be it would sound more like a rebuild. I know Georgia.
I just think going there, that place is tough to play, and it's game 5, or it'll be our first.
What if you had to wipe out? What if Colston Loveland was the only player coming back for Michigan, and they had to go? You had to go to the 2 deep for Michigan's defense. So none of the starters from last year. You had to play just the backup.
I saw what he brought in. He's got a quarterback. He's got his kid from Mississippi State. The kid started 40 games. Man, you think he's a rookie? They got they brought some kids in.
There you go. You're ready for that one. You're ready.
You want to go talk Washington? Let's finish up on Washington.
I like it.
I think Jed Fish is a stud. I shook his hand when he was in Ann Arbor coaching years ago. He's been all over coach. I think the guy's a good freaking coach. He built Arizona, who was garbage. 3 years, got him winning. So that's going to be a tough game. You got Belichick's kid coaching the defense. Did you listen to Belichick's kid interviewed? I mean, it's amazing how much he sounds like his old man, perfecting the art of saying about as little as possible. But, he's a smart guy, smart coach. And then you got Pete Carroll's kid coaching the offense. He's the offensive coordinator. And it's interesting listening to him talk, sounding a lot like the old man. But that place is going to be – they could be undefeated when we go there too. I looked at their schedule. They could be undefeated. I think they got like Rutgers and Indiana or something before they get us. So that team could be really, really fired up. That's what I'm saying. I know it's down the road, but
it's okay.
Those things create a lot of energy if they get the Wolverines coming in there and they're undefeated.
The scuttlebutt with Michigan, and it's not just in this fall practice. It even goes back to spring, and we've even discussed it here in the off season, even at sometimes heated ways, in that talking about Jack Tuttle and that he could be in the mix at quarterback. there hasn't been any report coming out that said it's all Alex Orji and everybody else is behind him. What has come out is that it could be Tuttle, and it is a battle. And then it could be, it's almost like, Scar, they were reading or like almost quoting exactly what you said like 2 months ago. Tuttle could, play that, and you could see 10 to 15 plays for Orji. I think that's almost exactly what you said, 2 months ago. And there's been a lot of that kind of talk here.
Hey, look, I'm going to just hang my hat on what I said again. If I got pushed into a corner, I think they're going to go with the kid who's 24 years old to start the game. They're not going to, and I think they're going to have a hell of a lot of Orji in the football game. That's my opinion. It's going to be like 20% Orji package, a hell of a lot of it, and expand his ability to throw out of it. But I think we're going to see Tuttle. That's just my gut. I think they're going to play the kid who started a bunch of football games, and I don't think they would have brought him back for a 7th year to hold the clipboard. So I don't know. I've said it many times. We're going to find out in a couple weeks.
That is right. Preseason rankings, again, they're for entertainment. They're not totally meaningless, but they are for entertainment. But if you like to say they're meaningless, you're not going to get much.
We just had a comment about Gentry at right tackle. The coaches have said it publicly that Percy and Gentry are in a battle at that position. So that's good, because I thought Percy looked a hell of a lot better in the spring game than he did, but then he was a young kid. I remember, when he got some of his early starts a couple of years ago, he wasn't physically like he is now. He's a much bigger, stronger kid. So it's a great situation. We got 2 guys that can play. So you can look at it however you want to look at it. There's competition there. I look at it, it's damn good. We got 2 guys can play. If one of them gets banged up, then we got two guys they're not sure about with center. So they feel good about Anderson. They feel good about Crippen, and they haven't made their mind up. Those are things they've said publicly. So, again, that gives us depth. They're not sure which way they're going to go. Those are good problems, Denny.
Yeah, I think they will know what kind of offensive line they have, considering the kind of defensive line that they have. And if they go one on, ones versus ones, which they'll probably do at some point, to get a gauge, tiebreaker about who's going to start that at right tackle, who's going to start at center, who's going to be the right guard. Scar, if you go out there and you have to go against, Benny, and let's see who can block Mason Graham. Let's see who can block Derek Moore. Let's see how you do with Jay Sean Barham coming on a blitz, or Josiah Stewart coming off the edge. Let's see how you handle these guys. They'll get a good gauge.
Yeah, Denny,
who should start.
Will Johnson said something. Will Johnson, we had it on our website, Maize and Blue Review, all the great up-to-date wisdom from Josh and our crew. He had some quotes from Will Johnson. And Will Johnson said it all that I remember as a player and that you understand as a coach. Here's what Will Johnson, he talked about Amir Hill, okay? That's what he said about Amir Hill. And this gets back to everything you just talked about. He's
the transfer from Albany, the corner. Yeah.
Okay. Amir Hill, this is what he said. Amir Hill needs to show us that he's reliable. Okay. Reliable. Denny, that means mentally he's in the right spot. He's covering the right guy. He's in the right zone. He's doing all the things mentally. Because when you're talking about like Gentry and Percy competing, Crippen and Anderson, all these guys that are in highly, highly competitive battles to play, start, whatever, the physicality and how good they are physically is one thing, but you cannot make a mental mistake. You cannot be the guy on defense to be in the wrong spot. You can have 10 guys in the right spot. You got one guy in the wrong spot, especially as much stuff that Wink is doing defensively and Minter and McDonald. We know we do a lot of stuff. You can't have mental mistakes. So that's what you have to read between the lines, what Will Johnson was saying about Amir Hill, that he cannot be inconsistent with the mental mistakes.
I have to apologize, and I don't know if you're Amir Hall is a transfer corner from Albany, and Jair Hill is number 20.
That's it. I got it. Yeah, I got Jair. Yeah,
Jair Hill, not Amir Hill.
Those
are two that those are easily
Yeah, I got him.
Yeah, you're talking about Jair. Okay.
But Jair was who he was talking about,
Yeah.
the young athletic kid. You know, you just like, you got to be in the right spot. How would you compare Michigan? Here's a question for me, Denny. How would you compare Michigan D compared to last year? I said our top 11 will be every bit as good as everything we've had defensively in the last 4 years the last 3 years that we won championships with. So I firmly believe our 11 players we put on the field will be every bit as good as what we've had to win championships. Now, the only question is we're going to find out is how good are the backup 11. That's what we're going to find out in the game one with the rotations. When, you know, I want to look at Etta. I want to look at some of these Pierce and some of these other guys and some of these, you know, is Rolder making the jump, you know, as a linebacker that we know, you know. So basically what you're looking at, what I'm looking at is the guys that are going to be the backups. Can we win a championship with them next year? You know, Denny, that's how I'm looking at these backups, you know, because when I saw Mason Graham and Kenny Grant and you got Harbaugh getting all fired up, that tells you that, you know, he knew how good they were as backups, that we're going to be, when they're starters, we're going to be able to beat Ohio State with them. So that's what I want to see from the backups. Can we beat Ohio State with them next year?
All right, good stuff. We'll get to some more of the questions here. I remember we talked about Michigan got a commitment from Philip Wright, the wide receiver out of Louisiana. The kid committed, and then the next day, you know, he seemed like he started to have second thoughts, and certainly by the next week, he was talking about making a visit to LSU, and he decommitted. Do you have any thoughts on that decommitment?
Danny, the guys that early commit, I'm just give a general thought. The guys that early commit well in advance of the signing day, you know, the ones that are a good distance from Ann Arbor, you got to worry about those guys.
Yeah.
You know, I don't think we got to worry about Avery Gatch. Okay.
Right.
He's down the street. He's locked in. He's not going to get homesick. He's not going to have second thoughts about being homesick. So I think when you got a kid from California, Louisiana, or LSU right down the road, and they make an early commitment, you know, that ain't over till it's over, man. So but you never know. Bellamy might jump back in November or something, you know, before the signing day, and who knows? Who knows what kind of team LSU is going to have this year? Some of this might get flipped again based on, you know, how successful Michigan is or LSU is or whoever else he's looking at. But that distance is an issue on early commitments.
Have you ever gone to a game recently where you have sat in the suite or been involved where they have that, you know, the huge room that is basically one gigantic suite? You can go out there. They have weddings and banquets there. And then, of course, the suites. Have you been in any of those, Scar?
Oh, you're talking about at Michigan Stadium?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I've been up there for some of those different functions, some individual suites, and then something. We had a reunion. The former players had a reunion up there, maybe, I don't know, 20 years ago, 15, 20.
Yeah, it's cool. Well, has it been that long since they've had the suites and everything?
Yeah, it was when Rich Rod or Brady, one of them, I don't know. They had a big thing up there for the former players, and I walk all around. You know, it was nice. I could see where they have, and that's where I was told that they have, you know, wedding receptions and different kind of big functions there. And yeah, it's big, it's beautiful, it's, you know.
Yeah, it's great. I was just thinking that I could, and I went to a Michigan State game. I think they won. Denard was the quarterback. It was, I think, all field goals. But I sat in a suite, and it was awesome. And I was thinking, man, I could live in this suite all year long. Occasionally, they put the lights on, like on a Friday night. Of course, game day would be the best ever. And then they had all that big banquet room. But then I got the look at the new locker rooms with, you know, a pool table.
Hey, let me finish up on that suite, because then we'll get into the locker room.
Okay.
Because my last game at Michigan Stadium that I watched in a suite,
yeah,
we had Michigan State beat, and I was in that end zone on the 10-yard line on a suite, and the kid dropped the ball. Okay, that's the last time I was in a suite at a Michigan football game. Was the most brutal Michigan loss.
Which one? The kid?
The punter dropped the ball, and the Michigan State kid recovered it. I was right there in that end zone.
Oh, where the kid came running down and into the end zone?
Yeah, we're punting the ball. There's 30, 20
man.
seconds left, whatever, man. We just got to punt it.
Oh.
Just got to protect and punt it. We win the game. Kid dropped the ball. I was right there. That's my last time in a suite. I ain't going back in those suites. Anyway, and then I just wanted to end on that, and as you transition into the locker room.
Great ending, Scar. Yeah, the pools. I mean, everywhere in there is like I could live in the suite, but then I looked at the locker room, and it'd be like, they talk about football Valhalla. If when I go, I hope to just put me in the Michigan Stadium. Let me hang out there, hang out in the locker room. And they get the barber chair, they get big screen TVs, the lockers. Scar, what did you have? A little nail and a little stool there at your locker? Did they put a nameplate up there? You got a nameplate.
Yeah, we had, we had a little stool, and you had your locker, and a little stool. But listen, man, I some of this stuff is overrated, but some of it stuff matters. Okay.
Yeah.
Because you don't spend a ton of time sitting in the locker room. You get down there, you get situated, then you're in a meeting, and then you come in, you get dressed, and then you go back then you're on the field. So it's not like you're spending a lot of time there, but there is some downtime. I put some thought into it because I looked at the video of the locker room, and I put some thought into it. Okay, so there is downtime, as a player, and they're spending more time at Schembechler Hall because they have. They have training table there now. When I was playing, we had the coach's office, which was a different part of the football building. So you had two different locations, and then you had a third location you would eat in. These guys have everything in one location. Coaches, it's all there, so it's easier. But listen, there's some downtime. So to play a game of pool, to go and bowl. To maybe put on something on TV, those things are good because the enemy has it. I've been to Alabama's. I've seen Oregon set up. Oh. They got stuff too, man. You better match them with some of that extra stuff. They got the big recliner. These kids can, if there's times maybe in between class or before practice, maybe you didn't get a great night's sleep. They got the big recliner there, guys. They can get 20 minutes of shut eye. Before the meeting starts. So
I don't think I'd ever leave. I'd just be, if somebody said, "Where's that?" He's over at the locker room.
Well, anyway, I put a lot of thought into it, and some, the barbershop, all that stuff it saves you time. You can make it more efficient with your time to have those things. But if the enemy has it, you better have it, man. If the Buckeyes in Oregon and Georgia, Alabama, they got all that stuff. You better have it because they're going to use it against you. Kid goes to visit Michigan, and they got nothing but a hard stool and a nail on the wall to put your hat. I mean, you ain't going to, good luck.
Well, prior to paying the kids money, shower them with, lavish locker rooms and, great facilities. That was something that, the arms race was all about. Now, that you can just, flat out pay them. I don't think it's that big, but, this was put into place before that. It'd be interesting to see if they keep up, rolling with the millionaire locker.
Yeah, you got to hit them on all levels, man.
You do it everywhere.
You can't just, you just can't have just the money matters. But if you're matching them with money, and then how do you feel? How's the kid feel on a recruiting visit? The strength, they're looking at 50 different things when you go on your recruiting visit. So it's just one of many things that you want to check off so they can't use it against you. So I thought it was great, and it's good for the players.
What was the worst road locker room?
I told you Michigan State, man.
Michigan State.
I told you that story, how Michigan State, it was terrible. They had lockers on the outside. Just visualize a big old room with lockers on the outside, right?
Yeah.
Fine. That's not a big deal. Right in the middle of the locker room were two toilets. Okay. They had urinals on the side, but if you wanted to go number two, you had to go right there in the flat out center of the locker room. So you had toilet paper sitting right next to them toilets that were sitting right in the middle of the locker room.
What, with no stall like around it?
Nothing, no privacy, nothing. So you think, Denny, guys are rotten in how they try to screw with the other team?
Yeah.
The guys are doing their business, and it's right smack dab in the middle of a locker room where a coach is 5 feet from where are you going to put the chalkboard? You got to put your chalkboard somewhere, and you got guys right there doing his business. So I never forgot that with Michigan State. I mean, Hayden Fry had the pink locker room, but who gives a damn about that? That was
what I thought. I got a tour of so it would have been 1998, the Friday before the Michigan Ohio State game. I was down there in John Falk let us go in the Michigan locker room the night before the game. And we went in there and they had their, it was cool. The uniforms were there in the locker, but it looked like a high school down there in the corner, right, Scar? It was kind of looked like a high school locker room. Nothing fancy, just they had lockers there, but not as bad as I didn't,
No, Danny, my first 4 years, our locker room would have been on the as you're coming in the locker room, we were on the right. The visitor was on the left. So my last year, 1985, back, that our visitor locker room was terrible. And I think the only reason Bo really because Bill Mallory is Bo's buddy. And I remember Bill Mallory made an issue about it. Like, God, we go up there and exactly what you said. We got a nail to hang our coat. They really ripped on it. So they totally redid the visitor locker room. And then the Michigan, we went to the visitor locker room and the enemy got our old locker room. Mm-hmm. So that's what happened. That's how it's been ever since 1985. The Michigan team is on the left side as you're coming into Michigan Stadium.
As you go into the Lloyd Carr tunnels.
That's right. So anyway, that stuff is you want to give a good because high school coaches. Oh, it's unbelievable what high school coaches go through and how people screw you. With different environments, different situations, and I totally get it as a coach. You need to have a chalkboard. You need to have something to present to your team.
So, are you a big music fan? Like were you listening to Springsteen or Led Zeppelin or something back in the day?
I had my stuff.
Your Walkman.
I'm an old classic rock guy. Yeah.
Well, I don't know. Would Bruce Springsteen, Michigan State? The Springsteen Stadium, could you Led Zeppelin Stadium?
Oh, you saw that down in FIU, Pitbull,
that's right.
1.2, that's a good deal. I mean, this guy's the 1.2 million Florida International is given Pitbull, or Pitbull's given Florida International 1.2 million. It's called the Pitbull Stadium now.
Yeah.
After this rapper. So, other people are talking about it. There was Ohio State was talking about it. Is that going to come to big time football? If FIU can get 1.2 million and you're in an arms race to pay for players and you got to come up with this money somehow, how are these guys going to do it? But that's going on. So Pitbull is in the house, Denny, down there in South Florida.
Yeah, I think it's going to happen. But when it comes down, I would just rather have it called Michigan Stadium. But if rather than putting something, and I know there's a lot of stuff on the helmets and uniforms already, but I kind of think the Jumpman looks cool. But I wouldn't want to see a Meyer patch on the Michigan Stadium or the Michigan uniform. I wouldn't want to see anything on the bricks in the stadium. They want to do something on TV where they put some kind of. But if they wanted to say, the ABSA Michigan Stadium, by ABSA Pure, whatever, if Pitbull's giving up 1.2 for Michigan Stadium, I don't know what the naming rights. You might have to pay $100 million for those naming rights if you're ABSA.
When it gets back to the same old thing, if as long as Sharon Moore has the pocketbook and the wallet to compete with Alabama or Oregon, you talking to, how much money that guy's getting from Phil Knight to compete with them? They're getting kids everywhere. Okay, so I hear you talking about image and tradition, and we don't want all these signs. Okay, that's great, But Sharon Moore is the guy that's got to close the deal. And if he's getting outgunned, and if we're turning down opportunities to make money, that's when those decisions have to be made, tradition or compete with Alabama and Oregon for kids. Because they're demand. Oh, we already know Ohio State's payroll is $20 million, right? NIL is $20 million.
Yeah.
Okay. So, tradition only goes so far. The kid getting recruited, he don't want to hear about tradition. He wants to hear about, what's in that bag, man. At least Baylor came out and said it. You saw Baylor. We pay kids. We pay players.
Yeah.
At least they're not locking, man. They're not hiding it.
Yeah, Michigan could come up with some pretty clever slogans with everything that's going on off the field there in Ann Arbor. Who was annoying to me, and I didn't know that it was going to be, is Oregon. You mentioned them. They put their silly duck everywhere. They've got a gigantic duck in Chicago on the river. The duck's outside the gate, and they're taking pictures of it. It's too much. The duck's too much. They're the new member of the Big Ten. I don't like them. Out of the 4 that are coming in, I don't like Oregon.
Yeah, they got a lot to sell, man. I've been up on that campus. Phil Knight's right down the road with the Nike complex, and they got a lot of money, and they got a lot of fan support, and we got to deal with them, man. It ain't an easy place to play. So, but they ain't no joke, man.
Yeah, the team out west. I like that.
What else I got, Danny? I was looking at Michigan, Alabama. They had the replay on. I'm gonna tell you a guy that was pretty damn good was AJ Barner. Man, he was good. And I just hope we get that from Klein. The blocking, AJ Barner was tough. We could run we scored those 2 touchdowns, or those 2 big runs to score that touchdown in overtime. And they were just the power play, man. Good tight end blocking. So hopefully Klein will give it to us, man.
Yeah.
Quentin Johnson had some big plays too. He's back. So, he's, no one's talking about young Q, man. All that dude does is make huge plays.
He did. He made a lot of huge plays. And I watched the Ohio State game yesterday, and, Donovan Edwards I know Blake Corum had the big runs, but, Donovan Edwards, you see Donovan Edwards out there, you use him the right way. He really can be one of the most explosive players on the field at any given time. I'm excited to see him out there. You mentioned Barner, but the way they use their tight ends, man, Loveland had a great game against Ohio State. And you just see the way that they use him. If the Michigan's got these 2-3 tight ends, they're all 6'5", 250. And that they'll run out of it, they'll throw out of it. And,
yeah, but Danny, your evaluation of tight end play is different than mine.
I agree with that.
Because I look at the guy, is he blocking a defensive tackle, and can we throw the freaking ball to him? Okay, you're looking at the stat sheet. Now I want some big ugly that can block a big ugly, and we could run our best football play. Like we did to beat Alabama. Those 2 running plays were behind Barner. So. Yeah, I want a legitimate tight end that we could run behind and we could throw it to him, and that's what I think we're going to have. 2 for sure that could do that.
Yeah, well, I think about I don't know how much blocking Travis Kelce or Mark Andrews do in the pro.
Well, they run a different offense. They run that. That's what they run, man. We we're winning championships running with 2 tight ends and running the power play and running. It's a different scheme, man.
Yeah.
All right. So it's a different deal, man.
You, Scar. This is a good one from Mark. Do you think that Barner or Loveland was a bigger contributor to?
Very close. I think it's Mark. You're listening, man. You're getting the wisdom from Scar. You're listening because they were both highly effective players. Barner was I would give Barner a 80 rating as a blocker, and a 60 rating as a receiver, and then I would just flip it for Loveland, and give him an 80 as a receiver and a 60 as a blocker. But I guess I'm not going to give anybody 100, but that's how I'd look at. Yeah, Loveland was a little more difficult to defend as a receiver because he's a little more athletic. He can get spacing because he's a faster kid. But he doesn't have he wasn't as physical as much. He hasn't been in the weight room as much, doesn't weigh as much as Barner. But Barner, I don't know if that kid dropped. How many balls did he drop last year? I don't remember him dropping a pass, and we threw it to him. So yeah, that's how we win, and we could have the same thing with Klein and Loveland this year. Two real good ones.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. Loveland is. He's like Brock. He's been mentioned a lot. Like he's like Brock Bowers, and
yeah, he is this year. Yeah, he's very much like that, and he could be even a better blocker this year. And he knows what look, the kid. You ain't ready to block when you're a freshman, man. And in sophomore year, he did a decent job, but he's going to be a lot better this year.
I hear you.
A tough rating, yeah. Well, okay. I mean, I don't want to give him hundreds, but I don't give any tight ends hundreds. I gave him an 80 I gave him, I would just. That's how I break it down. One was a little better blocker than as a receiver. Other one's a little, but they're both really effective. You got to defend both parts of their game. You can't line up as a deep. What we don't want to be able to do is we don't want a defense to line up because I played the edge, man. Okay, and if I got Loveland over me, I don't want to be thinking, well, they ain't running over here. They're going to run the other way where Barner is. You follow me?
Yeah.
I don't want to be left-handed, right-handed, Loveland-handed, or Barner-handed. You want the defense to defend Loveland and Klein if they're both in the game. That Michigan will run the football either way. That's when you're difficult to defend.
You got everybody ready to put their hand on the ground and play, Scar. That was the
hey, man. That's just how we roll, man. We're getting there. We're counting it down, and Olympics is all good. Danny, I got a quick thought on the Olympics. I firmly believe. Do the math. I firmly believe that college football in America is a huge factor on the United States overall Olympic success. Hear me out.
Okay, I'm ready.
We give scholarships to a lot of these sports: volleyball, women's basketball, some of these sports that are in the Olympics, right?
Olympic sports, yeah. Right.
Swimming. Okay, guess what? In other sports, a young kid doesn't have the opportunity to get college scholarships from those sports. How are those sports financed here in America? Who's the breadwinner? College football, right? I just want to throw that out. I think that college football and the money that comes in is a huge factor in, younger. A lot of the women's sports are non-revenue sports. It is what it is. But right. They have goals and they're motivated to get college scholarships in gymnastics, swimming, volleyball, whatever, and then now they can take it to the next level and win, to the Olympics. So that's just a theory.
That 100-yard dash was one for the ages. You've seen so many of the 100-yard dashes, and there's been bigger names and everything else, but to have each and every one of those guys like get right to the line, and the one guy literally won by a nose. I mean, that was just about as good as it gets. That was awesome.
And he had the worst start too. He was behind, and but it was. I've been to Jamaica, man. Some of those countries, man. I was in Kenya, Danny, where they trained the marathon kids. There's this one little section of Kenya where the people are kind of thinner and smaller, and they just run in the altitude. When they
get down in Paris, it's like they're on oxygen and they can just blow past everybody.
And then in Jamaica, man, you got Hussein, Bolt's pictures everywhere, man. Everybody, track is big. Everybody wants to. That's how they get out of. That's how you can make it in those countries. Be great in track. So, but it's hard. Again, they don't have the finances. Those other countries to for young people to be motivated to go to college, to get a scholarship. And again, all those scholarships are financed by the breadwinner.
Scar, when you went to Africa, did you walk to the top of Kilimanjaro? Did you?
No, but I was near there. No, so Michigan Go Blue says he went on a safari in Africa. Yeah, you saw them all too. Michigan Go Blue. Yeah, you go on a safari, man. You'll never go to a zoo again. Forget that.
So you were by Kilimanjaro, but you didn't want to walk to like 20
miles. I was in, it's a big. I was in Tanzania and Kenya. So yeah, you can't. You're near it. That's where it is. But
right.
Danny, listen, man, we're counting it down. We got college football in what 2.5 weeks now, I guess, the first weekend.
Week 0.
And
I'm ready for football. I'm ready. I've been waiting, and I've been telling everybody to be patient and everything else. That's all out the window. That's all I'm thinking about now. It's all I think about. Football. Michigan football.
Yeah, and let's get this BS behind us and get these kids fired up, focused, and we're rolling, man.
Yeah,
it's gonna be a great year, Danny.
Now you're talking. I think
don't buy that. Don't buy this. We got all these guys, all these new guys. Come on, man. Hitton's gonna have a great year. We got 2 tackles that they got great faith in, and the running back room is outstanding. Donovan is going to be a factor running the ball. I'll be honest with you, Danny. I used to go crazy running Donovan Edwards inside the tackles was not always, it wasn't much happening. That extra 10 pounds on him, he's going to run some people over. He's going to get you first downs. He's going to be much better player.
I like what you're talking about. It won't be that long. I want to remind people you want to know more about practice or recruiting, and even notice of allegations and things like that. Join up to the Maize and Blue Review. Go to michigan.rivals.com. As far as this podcast, the VCast, it's awesome if you subscribe to the podcast. You always hear people say subscribe, rate, and like. Those are very nice things to do. Smash that like button. That stuff's all free to be able to do. And, you like us bringing the podcast to you. We appreciate you hitting your thumbs on those like buttons and subscribe and all that. It really does help. Thanks so much.
Danny, I had to suck it up. I had a tooth over here still numb, but that's what Michigan for. That's what players do, baby. We just suck it up. There was a phrase, if you got a little bump, bruise, when I was playing, you ain't hurt. You got hurt feelings.
Gar, when so you would be the one administering the blows, but did you ever, would you go down? I think when you really get rattled or it really does hurt, the way you just shake it off is just grab your own face mask and shake it around, or what did you just you get your bell rung or whatever else? You just make sure you stood up, got up quick, never stayed down.
No, hey, Danny, that bell rung thing. They take them out now. Them trainers are right there. They see that, man. They take the kid's helmet. He's done. That's concussion stuff. When I was playing, that's what they said. Okay, bell rung.
Scar, would your helmet after a game be would you have the paint? Some of the sticker ripped off.
Yeah, a little bit, man. You can't play football without getting getting knocked on your butt once or twice, Danny. Everybody gets beat up, man. You ain't winning every battle.
Can't do it. All right. You came out a winner today, Scar. Great job. Thanks for firing us up. We look forward to talking with you next week.
All right, Danny, go blue.
There he is. Jim Scarcelli.